Hi guys, I'm Steve Hanks and I want physio to be available to anyone in the world, no matter who you are, where you live, how much you earn. This should be knowledge out to everybody. So these are ways you can live long, free of pain, free of suffering. So if you haven't already, click subscribe and I'm going to be posting new content every couple of weeks or so. So if you haven't already watched the video on how to train the introductory of the shoulder, I encourage you to watch that because this is going to be probably too hard if you haven't filled your strength holes depending on where you're at. So we're going to get into wall exercises this week. Walls are the best way to train because you can slowly progress from a wall to a table, to a coffee table, to the ground. And then when you're on the ground, you're doing your push-ups, your yoga exercises. It's like a staircase of exercise progressions. So if you have a problem with your shoulder or one of your clients has one and you're just having a hard time getting to do down dogs or push-ups without pain or problem, you probably need to do this. So we're going to start with wall lands. And the issue, if you recall in the last video, is often people push their shoulders up. So they'll use their lats and internal rotators to kind of scoop up their shoulders. It looks a bit like this. Another word is scapular dyskinesia because the scapula's all over the shop. So the wall is how we're going to get the scapular motion by just floating your arms up. You're trying to use the muscles in the back. So whenever you're doing these exercises, you don't want to be braced, you don't want to grip your stomach. I'm going to do some videos on this later, but just try to relax and open your chest. So it looks a bit like this. You're just going to float onto the wall, float onto the wall. This exercise is a really nice way to just pattern the shoulder. Do about 10. You're not pushing up like this, and you're not just coming onto the wall. So it's very floaty, almost like you're swimming butterfly in the pool or something. So, and then after that, you're going to do wall squats. So as you do wall squats, you're just going to relax the armpits out and around the body. The wall squat is a little bit like how we talked in the last video about pressing up with the weight to relax the armpits around your body. It's the same principle. So you're trying to use those muscles around the scapula to move rather than the lat. You can also do, if you're on the wall push-ups. So wall push-ups are a great way to get into doing push-ups. Again, you don't want to use the lats or the internal rotators. You're trying to keep all of this relaxed and just use the tricep, back of the shoulder. So you're just going to come down, press through the shoulder. So over time, you can take that into further away where you can press through, and it's a little bit different to how you probably normally do a push-up if you pull in because you're trying to not use these muscles. So I would probably encourage you to do that for a week or two, and then we're going to get into a table or a coffee table and progress, and then we can step to the floor. Alright guys, and so if you recall, I was telling you we have to generally strengthen the scapular muscles. So we're trying to train tricep, posterior rotator cuff, which is just here, back of the shoulder, and then the scapular muscles, which are here. So oftentimes a row, like a pulling motion, is also a problem. So people generally get trained to row by pulling using their lats, and this is exactly what we're trying to change. So normal people without a problem in their shoulder probably wouldn't have a problem, and like I mentioned before, it's often that there's a weakness elsewhere, like abdominal wall or pelvis or legs, that the lat has become a cheat pattern or a go-to, which has caused the problem. So if you're doing all this but you have an underlying issue, it's probably not going to help, so you've got to address that first. But training a row is really important. So if you want to understand the pattern, you can sometimes just use a wall and just think about, it's like you're trying to gently squeeze a ping pong ball into the small of your back. So you're just going to float the shoulder blades around. Often people will grip their armpits and they'll dump the shoulders down and they can't even do this. So if you have a hard time with this, I wouldn't even attempt to row, just practice that for a week. If you're all good, you want to get your band and start with doing the same thing. So it's like you're just floating back the shoulders. It's a floaty motion, so you're not dumping the armpit down. Float around, and then use your triceps to row. So float around, use your triceps and back of the shoulder to row back. So oftentimes people will be rowing and they'll be dumping the shoulder in like that. That's just going to cause more problems. So you start with a light band and work into a harder one, and then eventually you can take that into like a squat with a row or something like that. This is really important before you get into doing external rotation, because if you can't control the back of the shoulder, you're not going to be able to do that either. So try that for a couple of weeks.